Archero 2 skill tier list. So there are a lot of skills in game. As you can see here, you may not even be able to count it because of how many it is. Let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and whatever this amounts to. Let's go ahead and count. I don't want to. 60, 20, 80, maybe around 100. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in because this might become a long video. So we're just going to go ahead and start with the Soul of Swiftness random one. It's an epic. We're gonna do randoms one. Over here, the Soul of Swiftness, the attack speed buff provides a huge DPS increase, extra movement speed, why not, and one of the best epic skills because of, the stats it gives. So we're just go ahead and start the video up with a S tier skill. Next, we're gonna go ahead and try this one, Super Venom. We're gonna put this ahead in A tier. Massively buffs your poison DPS, but pretty much useless if you don't have any poison sources. So if it had better use, it would be going to S tier because of how buffy it is, but one use only if you have poison. Next is the one up thing. As you can see over here, it's an obviously S tier skill, as pretty much OP that can single-handedly win you the run. Basically one of the best utility skills in the game, and the fact that it's just an epic skill. Next is our double strike swords over here. Effectively doubles your strike DPS, but again, useless for non-strike builds, so it's going to go below the S tier. Next is our tracking eye. Well, the tracking eye does give a lot of combinations in the game. Probably one of the best skills for me as well. Makes the subterminal main weapon skills actually good, and again, one of the best utility skills in game. Next is the super flame over here. We're gonna go ahead and put the super flame in the A tier because it's one of the best elemental ability stats, but again, only used when you have a burn source. So if not, then it's pretty much useless. Next is our super circle. Now, one of the best circle skills in the game, but underwhelming on non-circle builds. So again, tier A. Wind Blessing here, great buffs to survivability, more helpful if you're bad at the game, I guess, but it has no DPS impact, so not really buffy in the all general terms, unlike other skills that deserve the S tier. So we're just gonna go ahead and put that in the A tier. Next is our Super Lightning. Requires lightning again, and lightning is one of the worst DPS elements, so we're just gonna go ahead and put that on the B tier. We also have Sprite Frenzy over here. One of the best sprite skills in the game, but the underwhelming if you don't have enough sprites anyway, so let's go ahead and put that right beside the lightning, super lightning I mean. Next is our diagonal arrows. So diagonal arrows, 2 extra projectiles, which is a lot of DPS, but reduces bouncing arrow or tracking eye to become more useful. I mean, it requires those other bases, so we're just gonna go ahead and put this in tier A because again, it's gonna need another source actually to be actually useful. Next is our strike boost. So the strike boost is an incredibly high extra damage when you're using a strike build, but if you're not, again, pretty much useless if you don't have any strike items. So right below S tier because there's a point in game where you get the skill but it becomes pretty much useless, so it can't be going to the S tier in those cases. Next is our attack increase. Damage increase is always nice, works no matter what build you have, but most other epic skills are better if you are focusing just on one thing, as you should anyway. Putting that on A tier. Anyways, we'll be rearranging this eventually later on. Maybe we change our mind and whatnot, but we're gonna go ahead and continue this to using our Meteor Pursuit, which should be over here. That's not the right one. Over here, one of the best meteor skills in the game, but again, not really. Again, I didn't say that yet, but meteors are not really that sustainable whenever you're playing the game. So it's one of the lowest skills in the game, anything meteor related. So we're just gonna go ahead and put that in tier B right beside these other ones. Next is our enchanted strike. So enchanted strike over here is extremely useful if you have a full strike loadout, but doesn't work if you don't have strike anyway. So it requires a full strike loadout to really be good, and really only be good if you have flame on your main weapon attacks, because flame is one of the best elemental abilities in game. So we're just gonna go ahead and put that on tier B. Next is our laser sprite. Laser sprite over here is one of the best sprites you can pick up. Great for clearing mobs and have solid boss DPS. But again, with meteors and sprites and meteors are one of the worst skills you can get in game, because it's not really sustainable. Sprites, they just go crazy, and meteors, it's randomized. No, not really randomized, I suppose. It goes to a specific enemy, but still, it's not really as good as your own projectiles. So we're just gonna go ahead and put that in the tier B as well. Next is our energy ring. So the energy ring in this game is actually kind of cool. It is a bit sparky and flashy. If I can find it, it should be here. The epic line. Okay, it was kind of missing from the list, so we just added it. But it's going directly to the, oh my god, tier B. It's pretty slow. Honestly, I've tried it before. It's a slow skill. It does have cool damage and does a lot of area damage as a projectile, because it pierces to pretty much anything. But the lower damage makes it sub-optational for against bosses, and need other charge skills to actually become good. So we're just gonna go put that in tier B right beside the laser thing. Again, we'll rearrange this later to something more sustainable, I guess. Next is our circling laser orb. Now this is a solid circle skill with good DPS even at range, but flame circle is just somewhat better. So we're gonna put that over here on our B list. Next is the giant strength. Now the giant strength in game is the extra DPS stats are actually kind of good, but the survivability is much lower because of the fact that it makes you quite slow, making you slower than most projectiles in the game. So it's seldom worth getting it, because the lower speed can make dodging kind of hard. So we're gonna go and put that in tier B. Now we're gonna go to our next one, which is the weapon enhancement. Although you can go ahead and use this to pretty much walk around and still be able to shoot opponents, so all you have to focus on is dodging, but it allows negative effects are too bad to make it worth using. So it might as well just go ahead and be sustainable with stopping to move in order to shoot, instead of wasting and getting rid of your own damage. So we're just gonna go ahead and put that as our first C tier. We're doing the purple ones first, the epic ones, because we're gonna do specific rarities. Next we're going to do the blue one, I think it's rare, and then the rare one. No, not rare, we'll see later. So next is our super frost. The rest of these epics are going to most likely below these ones, so let's just go ahead and skip to that part, and we'll explain why in a second. So just go ahead and bear with me over here. So here we go, our last epics go straight to C tier, because most of them, again, meteors, bad in general, ice, super frost, anything ice elemental is one of the worst elemental stuff you can get if you're going for DPS. So one of the worst epic DPS skills in general. Wall piercing arrow, absolutely useless if you already have pierce from some other skill or on your weapon, and one of the worst epic utility skills. So it can be useful if you don't have a charge skill, but anyways, if you don't, then it's pretty much nothing to you. Next is our slow field. Can actually help against tracking enemy projectiles, but the slow effect is useless 99% of the time, because you still get hit anyways if you don't do it right. So one of the worst skills in the game, again, right beside these other ones. But we can't put it in D tier because it does still have a use. Next is our aqua flight. Useless. Just useless. One of the worst skills in the game. You can walk on water. Why is it even an epic? I'm not actually sure. So, but only does appear when there are water obstacles in level. But still useless. It's not like you can't walk around this water stuff anyway. But anyways, going to our next level, which is the rare skills. So starting off with the first one, going with Warrior's Heart. So Warrior's Heart over here, which should be this one, insignificant attack power boost chance, and one of the worst skills in the game because you can only get a actual effect in chance only. So we're just gonna go ahead and put that out. So picking up hearts has a chance to boost attack. So not only is getting hearts a rare thing, not really that rare, but doesn't really happen all the time, but you also get only a chance of getting your power increase. So it's basically a double gamble when you're using these skills. So we're just gonna go ahead and put the similar skills of those right beside that one. There you go. We have our Fountain of Life, our Lucky Heart, and our Heart of Vitality. Heart of Vitality, one of the worst skills in the game. Again, pretty much only possibility. The extra HP is the least useful stat you can get. So I'd rather get extra damage or extra speed if I'm going to go ahead and increase my stats. But I guess if you're out of options, you can just go ahead and get this for maybe a small and slight boost. So we're just gonna go ahead and continue with our tier list. Also, yeah, the Lucky Heart, again, picking off hearts really, and then Fountain of Life, fully heal on pickup, max HP, fully heal on pickup, 1.2 times max HP. The extra HP is the least useful stat you can get in game, and one of the worst skills in the game is one of this, especially if in the rarity. So it's not really that sustainable when you're playing the game. We also have the charged arrow over here. We're going to start with the lower ones actually. Can be good when combined with other charge skills, but the worst charge skill in the game is this one, and the lower attack speed makes it really bad on its own. So it's like the ring, but basically pretty much worse. We also have the abundant potion. So imagine you don't have any other potion skills in the game. This one is pretty much going to be useless. But if you do have other stuff, then that's pretty much good. Can make invisibility and frenzy potions that much better, because those two potions are one of the best skills in the game. So that's how it's getting the C tier instead of the D tier. And next is the sprites in this game. So we're actually gonna go ahead and put in the sprites here and see this, because again, the sprites are not really that sustainable when you're playing the game, and your own projectiles are the one that you should be focusing on, because they give up the most potential when you're playing in the game. It's only actually really good when you were lucky enough to get all of them at once. All the sprite buffs, all the sprites, all the legendary sprites, and these skill sprites all together to actually make it good. So we're just gonna go ahead and put all these sprites in the C tier. Wait, we're still on rare. Why did I do that? We're just going to rearrange those later. But we're going next to our bomb sprite. Our bomb sprite over here, C tier. Okay, sprites are not that good in general. Elemental sprites seem to perform better even. So we might be able to move this to beauty later on, but we'll see. We also have our instant strike. So instant strike, pretty good solid DPS increase for strike builds, but worse than assault strike in terms of DPS. So we're just gonna go ahead and put this in the B tier, right in the middle of everything. We also have the blitz strike over here. This is pretty much useless unless there is absolutely nothing else in the game. You can choose it as a skill, and one of the worst DPS skills in the game, but it's better than strike potion. So we're just gonna go ahead and put this up here. And we have the cloud-footed skill. So the cloud-footed skill is, we're gonna put this in C tier, because the push by passive isn't really that relative. The extra movement speed is nice, but that's pretty much it. Push doesn't really do much in game because, you know, you're mostly fighting against range opponents. We also have the short range attack. Destroys your range DPS, and not worth picking up 99% of the cases unless you're a melee build. I suppose there is a chance you want this, so we're gonna go ahead and put this in C tier list because most of the sets in game actually rely on a more ranged set. So we're gonna go ahead and continue with the split shot, putting this on the C tier list because it may work well if you have tracking eye or bouncing arrow, but it may be very bad if you don't have any of the two, tracking eye or bouncing arrow, because it's pretty much going anywhere when you are playing the game, especially if you're playing with bosses. It's a singular enemy, so the other two projectiles are the other projectiles, like the other three projectiles, pretty much useless against bosses. So it's pretty much only good when you're fighting multiple opponents. So next one is our piercing armor. Excellent utility actually if you don't have pierce from a charge skill, but completely useless if you don't have, if you already have pierce already. So that's going around B in the middle again. Fairy of the Wind over here. Extra speed and move speed is always nice, but the stat bonuses isn't really that high to make that much of a difference, so we're going to put that on B. Again, we're going to rearrange this later. We have the Lucky Band-Aid over here. The Lucky Band-Aid, the extra luck will help you get better skills, but if you can dodge, then you don't really need this because the projectile clear will save you in most situations. But again, if you can dodge, you don't really need this skill, but it's still useful in relativeness, so we're just gonna go ahead and put that in the tier B. We also have the Underworld Warrior over here, so we'll get you good skills sooner at the cost of your max HP. The damage multiplier is nice, but can be completely useless if the devil skills you get are still garbage. So that's pretty much like a 50-50 still, so we're putting that on the B tier list. Next is our actually we're gonna do these ones first. We're gonna directly put these elemental arrows in our tier A because these ones are pretty much a good buff in your projectile attacks. It's not really that amazing, but it does still give you a significant change that is, still somewhat noticeable. So there we go, we put it here. I think Flame is the best we can do, and then next Venom. I think maybe Lightning at last. But anyways, going to continue with the Angelic Shelter. So the Angelic Shelter can really come in clutch against a bullet hell, but again, you can just go ahead and dodge because this is just brief invisibility after an injury, so it's not, saving you from a bullet that you didn't get already. So you're gonna get to you're gonna need to get hit for this actually to work, so we're going to put that on the middle because it still can help you, especially when you're getting destroyed from every single angle in the level. We also have this one, I forgot what this is called. Fever. It has fever in it, I swear, and bullets are actually really good when you're on low HP. Buffs. Why did I say bullets? I think I was talking about bullets because of the Angelic Shelter. We're gonna put that right beside here. Maybe that better. Works really well if you're using Helix because of the critic and the crazy damage and stuff, but useless if you're going to be on match XP all the time. So again, the same with the Angelic Shelter, you're going to actually get hurt in order to actually get benefits from the skill. So right in the middle, high benefits but high risk. So we're gonna put that right in the middle. We also have the Sprite Boost, one of the good sprite buff skills you can get, but useless if you don't even have enough sprites or any. And sprites aren't that good in general. Again, as you can see, they're in the B tier. I put that early on. I'm not sure why, but we might be able to change it later. We go ahead and put that in B tier because it's still quite a good buff. As you can see, 4 arrows. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 arrows. That's a good thing. Let's have a ricocheting arrow over here. Ricocheting arrow, good buff, especially when you're clearing multiple mobs, but again, pretty much useless when it comes to bosses because where it's going to ricochet to yourself, who knows. There are better skills that you can help with the mob clear anyway, so we're gonna put that in the B tier because it can be kind of satisfying when you're playing that. So I guess, for cool points, we're going to put that above. And then our invisibility potion. As I started the game, this one is actually a pretty good skill. Can save you a lot, especially in bullet hells, when you're getting attacked from every single side and there's like 1,000 multiple opponents. You can just go past through them and you won't even get hurt. But again, this is a skill that does need your brain to use because it is not that infinite. You can only become briefly invincible, maybe like 2 seconds, maybe 1, I'm not actually sure. But anyways, moving on, we are into to our Demon Slayer. Oh my god, Demon Slayer reference. Okay, so the Demon Slayer over here is one of the best rare skills for mob DPS, but useless for bosses because it only increases attack power when you kill a mob. So again, but it does stack, so it's kind of good. So up to 50%, I suppose. But it doesn't really get active when you're fighting bosses, so can't go to S tier. If it did, then that would be good. But next is our Lucky Crater. Now our Lucky Crater over here can go to S tier, but because it has no extra DPS, and if you get too late into the run, it pretty much has less value. So it could go to S tier if it always give you the value if you got it from the start, but maybe if you get one of the last parts of the game, it becomes pretty much, not that useless. But wait, it does kind of get useless if it's one of the last skills you get in the game. So A tier. Next is our Lightwing Arrow. The Lightwing Arrow is actually kind of cool. It's satisfying when I use it as well. One of the best charge skills actually, and extremely good when combined with other charge skills, but requires other charge skills to actually become OP. So instead of tier S, we're gonna put this in tier A because it does need another thing to get better. We also have our Swift Arrow, actually a good buff, lots of swift attack speed, movement, and a lot of effects that can actually be stacked with attacks will benefit you a lot using this skill. But the smaller projectile size might make clearing mobs a bit harder. So instead of S, we're going to put that one tier below. We also have the Front Arrow, which is obviously an S tier. So one of the best main weapon skills in the game. It pretty much doubles your damage. Oh, what's this? Doubles your damage, not completely, maybe right below ×2. But that's basically 80% in damage increase, which is already incredibly good, especially because of the fact that it's pretty much just a rare skill. We also have the Stand Strong. It's pretty good, but very poor performance for Knuckle and Claw builds because you need to move a lot in those builds. So there's a case that it becomes one of the most useless ones. So instead of S, could have been S, but we're just gonna go ahead and put that in A, maybe right around here. Again, we're gonna change this. This is definitely not final because no way this guy is lower than Laser Guy because this guy looks cooler. Yeah, cool points. We have that in this video. And finally, our Circling Orbs, if we can find it. The Circling Orbs, the red one. Circling Orbs, this thing, one of the best Circling Orbs skill in the game, pays off massively even if you don't have that many Circling Orb skills, but useless for non-circle builds. So B tier, S tier, A tier. No, it gives a lot of buffs actually. Almost double, half, maybe 1.5 times. So we're gonna put that in A tier, maybe the very least. So finally, we're going to our rare ones, which is called rare. No, it's not rare. I think it's just okay. I looked it up, and it's called Fine Skills. So we're gonna go ahead and just start with the Fine skill. The first Fine skill we're gonna go start with is our Long Range Power, S tier immediately. The best Fine skill in Archero 2. The rarity it starts on makes it S tier because you get it with a higher chance, but works no matter what build you have, but can be underwhelming if you're playing a closer range build. But the buffs you can get with that rarity is already pretty good, so we're gonna put that in S tier, maybe one of the only S tiers we're gonna put using the Fine skills. But anyways, Assault Strike, A tier, pretty good, useless without any strike build celts. So if it's just this guy, it's pretty much useless, underwhelming. Bane of Bosses over here, another A tier. Good boss DPS increase, one of the best Fine skills in the game. A lot of buffs. Again, might go near the S tier because of its rarity. So that's still pretty cool. So, but we're just gonna go ahead and put that in A tier for now. That might change later actually. Next is our Ice Circle. The Ice Circle, the freeze and hit makes you extremely safe in close range builds. So one of the best Fine circle skills you can get, but it has underwhelming DPS. Most of these are going to A tier because of its rarity. Wait, maybe these guys get a high rarity later. We might give them a chance again later. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to our Pursuit Strike right here. So a very solid skill strike for clearing mobs, but useless against bosses. Assault Strike is miles better. So putting that in B tier right there. Again, still pretty changeable. Then these ones, putting that B tier. Actually, we're going to skip with the circles because circles lowest priority. Circle skill, thunder. Again, circle builds pretty much only work if you're using. Where is this going? Was this C? I think that was C. I think I put it in C. Actually, I accidentally clicked on that. I'm not sure where I put it. I wasn't looking. I was looking at the below things. Next is our back reward arrow. Tier B, because literally useless if you don't have any of the bouncing arrow or tracking eye, because the DPS increase is irrelevant if the arrow behind you is pretty much going nowhere. And our frenzy potion, pretty good, but these doesn't spawn on bosses that much, and the frenzy duration is a bit short, so it does give you quite the buff, but not really for that long duration. So we're gonna go ahead and continue with the swift bouncing arrow. There's no swift, I just made it up. Helps you deal with damage with diagonal projectiles, but pretty underwhelming if you don't have pierce or diagonal projectiles again. So pretty much B tier on that one. Becomes useless without the other main skills it can pair with. We also have the demon slaying meteor. So the demon slaying meteor helps with mob clear, but useless against bosses, and meteors are still bad in general for us. So as you can see, our meteors are already down here. There's a meteor here, but you know, we give a chance to those ones. And sprites, we're going to continue with the sprites being there because sprites, again, not sustainable. For it to be good, you're going to need all of them at once, which is kind of almost rare and not really, you know, sustainable if you want it to happen again and again. We also have the fairy breath, putting it on C tier, vampire C tier, warrior's breath again C tier. The buffs on these one isn't really that significant, but rarity not that bad. But again, the buffs it gives doesn't really do much, and there's definitely skills you could trade with these ones. Demon recovery can help with sustaining if you can't dodge and just dying to mobs, but you can just go ahead and dodge anyways. It becomes useless against bosses as well because it does need mobs to get a buff from, because you need to get kills in order to increase the chances of the passive of that specific skill. It was the breath of wind, cool boost, extra speed. Why not? It doesn't really unbenefit you if you have more speed, but it's pretty much the lowest increase of speed you'll ever see in the game. So we're gonna put that in tier C. So it's pretty much like useless. You won't really feel a change, maybe a bit if you're that good, but you know, who knows. We also have the strike potion, tier C, because one of the worst strike skills you can get, because you're going to need a potion. You need to run around to get to the part which might get you killed sometimes, and requires you to pick up potions to actually activate them, which is just what I said. Why did I whatever. We also have the frost, lightning, and meteor flame things. Meteor skills, really not our type in this video, so we're just gonna put that in tier D, maybe a bit lower actually. This is good because it freezes stuff, because it's a lot of area damage. So we're not gonna rely on DPS when we're doing the potions, but mainly on what they can actually affect, which is freeze. Freeze can have a significant difference in a game, so we're gonna go ahead and put that there. Also forgot this one. Maybe this. Actually, this one's below that. Yeah, something like that. Oh wait, no, maybe like this. Okay, we also have our strength. Blood, not that much of a benefit. D tier. Running path, D tier. That's pretty much useless, honestly. When you get it, it may look cool, but you know, not that cool enough to get cool points that can get to tier C. I have this one, by the way. Pick it only if there's no other choice. Random amount of healing. You know, Why? Because of this one, the Perilous Recovery. The value of the skill is really questionable, but sustain you get is irrelevant most of the time, so we're gonna put that in tier D. Riposte, Strike, tier D, tier D. Wounded Warrior, really bad in general because it forces you to take damage to make it worth, and the buffs it gives doesn't really do that much. And finally, the legendary skills. You must have been waiting for these ones. So let's just go ahead and start with the legendary skills. First one is the Beam Strike, immediate S tier, pretty good. I've used it lots of times. It's actually amazing, especially with mobs, multiple mobs. It's so satisfying. I used it once with the tracking arrow, and it was satisfying, bro. It like clears everything in one shot. You don't even have to move sometimes. You're just gonna have to wait. It's like an AFK farm, like farming until you get to the final boss. I mean, you do need to move for the final boss because you know, but DPS is still kind of good with the boss. But damage gets scaled if you don't build strike. But anyways, next is Corrosive Strike. I may have re-upped a bit too much on the first one. Corrosive Strike, one of the best skills for close range builds. Excellent with claw and knuckle weapons, but a bit underwhelming if you're not playing with the close range. But the buffs it gives is quite massive. You know what else is massive? Anyways, Power Trio. The stat boosts are pretty good. And not only that, it does it to multiple stats at the same time. Attack, health. You don't really need the health, honestly. But you have attack and attack speed. It doesn't provide any extra ability, but still pretty good. Look at those. It's like 1, 2, 3 builds. Stats, I mean. Again, don't need the HP, whatever. Rapid Fire, pretty much the same with this one, but just not side to side. So it's that, I guess. And I think it gives on the same damage, doesn't really give you a debuff. Maybe the speed on it does decrease a bit, but still an S tier because you won't really be able to notice that because you're shooting twice now. We also have the laser skill, the Beam Strike. This is not the Beam Strike, this is the Energy Beam. One of my favorite skills in the game, especially if paired with the Tracking Eye. It just goes everywhere, especially if you're using like Tracking Eye. It goes all around the map and you don't have to do anything. It's so satisfying. I just love it when it's flashy all around the map. So maybe it's a bit biased on this one, so I may have to put this in the S tier. But useless against bosses, actually. Requires other charge skills to become really busted. But if it's just your arrow projectile, it's just laser. But maybe you have this one, or maybe you have this one. The buffs in it is incredible. But again, it needs to be paired with another thing to actually make it sustainable and that good. So right there, right below S tier. So yeah, it got a D grade on one of my favorite skills. Anyways, tier B on Super Meteor because the DPS is kind of good, but we really don't like meteors in this game. Okay, one of the worst legendary skills in general. Sprite King, we don't like sprites. Solid Sprite DPS increase though, but one of the worst legendary skills. The same with our meteors. We just really don't like sprites and meteors. We just really want to rely on our own projectiles when we're playing in this game for some apparent reason. Then our rotating web. See, yeah, solid. Helps a bit with mobs, but that's pretty much it. Useless. The bonus DPS, garbage. One of the worst legendary skills in general. Soul of Strength. Really, I'd put this in tier D, but I gotta give it a chance, I guess, because it does give a lot of something you don't need there. And our last two, which is the Sacred Protection Ace tier. I love that skill. One of the best skills in the game for me, for you, for everyone. Excellent defensive utility, but you don't need to use it if you can dodge. But it can save you multiple times. It's like this guy, but you don't need to get hit in order to get hit without getting hit. And finally, our Warrior's Blood. the buffs it gives, it's very high and one of the best stats we can get. Other than this HP, we don't need HP, we need strength, we need all the damage we can get, we need all the pain we can give to our enemies and mobs and bosses and whatever. But anyways, we did it, we finished all the sets. We might have to arrange this. Actually, wait, hold on, I'm gonna rearrange this to a more unbiased opinion. We've arranged our skill set now, tier list. It's perfect. It should be everyone's actually, I'm kidding. If you think this is a good tier list, which I myself agree, as I've been playing this game for a good amount of a few days in total, I mean. Okay, so if you add all the hours I've been playing this game, it may add up total to a days. Okay, I've not been playing specifically in general that day and that day, maybe some part of that day and adding that day to that day, but you know, adding some of the hours I played together, it may reach more than a few days, maybe. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this gear test ranking listing Archero 2 skills. And if this video helped you, maybe the information helped you, maybe your opinions and ideas have changed, you have a new insight, a new perspective on how to play the game, you have a new life ahead of you, and maybe you're gonna go ahead and progress to the maps, the levels, because of this amazing tier list. So if that's the case, you can go ahead and like and subscribe for more videos like this. But that's pretty much all. And yeah, thank you.